All right, welcome in. It is time for Full Court Press. I am once again in a hotel lobby of a hotel I'm not staying at. Rob, this is my new play. As I told you off air, I did order breakfast. I still have my Diet Coke, and I'm ready to rock. I've been up since about 1:30 a.m. So I've gone through this card, Rob, and as always, Thursday rolls around. It's mid-major Thursday, and I have a million opinions. So before we go into it, though, I have to say, very satisfied with how last night worked out, because not only did I go 2-0, hit my 5% play, win both games in overtime with underdogs, which never happens. Yeah. The 5 games I threw out, I think 4 of them would have lost. I would have gone like 1-4 on the ones that I passed on. So it just doesn't get better. That's like the dream scenario right there.
Yeah. Well, the last couple of days, kind of the opposite. What happened to you early happened to me. I got beat by a hook again on a team total. Alabama, Birmingham, UAB over 83.5, got to 83 against UTSA in that contest. Yesterday was probably, for me, Adam, in a 2-month span, the least productive day I've had in college hoop. A 2-5 spot bailed out at the end by Florida, getting way over their team total. We discussed the South Carolina game, and by Houston with the late cover against TCU. Yeah, TCU. Watch so many games you forget. But nothing to worry about here. Still ranked number 2 at WagerTalk since December the 1st. So we're ready to hit this card today. Let's go get it.
I got to give my buddy Aaron Kidd a shout out, because I don't know if I add Tennessee to the card. If not for him, he was very convincing on that one. And we came on the show. I'd already kind of liked it. So he got me over the edge with that one. Charlotte gets it done in OT. Of course, Rob, the one time I need someone to just jack up a 3 and miss at the buzzer, guy makes a perfect pass to send it into overtime, but we got it done. And listen, you carried so if you're new here, Rob and I have a package where you can get all of our plays for a 3-day span. And Vino carried us for like the first 2 months of the year. So it's kind of my turn here to do that in the month of January. I think I'm up something like 22, 23 units in January at this point, maybe a little more, actually. I think I'm up, actually might be closer to 26. So just trying to find winners, and that's what we're going to do today. Like I said, it's mid-major Thursday, Vino, but when the number 9 team in the country plays on national TV on a slate like this, I suppose it's got to be the feature game. A huge number out in Ames tonight, but my number's kind of in line with this one. So, Vino, talk to me. Colorado, Iowa State, are you laying those points with the Cyclones?
Boy, it seems excessive, I have to say. As much as I like the Iowa State team, as much as I think they have Elite 8 capabilities, this is a price range, and they didn't fail to cover their spread on Saturday against Oklahoma State, but they came close. And that particular number was about 10.5. Today, you're looking at much, much more on the road, at home here against Colorado. A couple of things here with Iowa State, which are kind of baffling to me, but it seems like TJ Otzenberger cannot get 40 minutes of basketball out of his team. We talked last week, I think it was when I came on with his quote, or maybe it was the week before. And, Milan Milosinovic came up, players said the same thing. They could not get out of the gate first half. They were getting beaten up in first halves. I tried them against Cincinnati first half. They blew another one. And then last week they came through. A couple of big first half wins against UCF and Oklahoma State. However, the second half was no good against Oklahoma State. I mean, it turned right around, and Iowa State comes out of the chute flat to start the second half. They get outscored 50-33 by Oklahoma State as they tried like crazy to come back and cover that number. So there's something about Iowa State where he can't get this team to give him 2 full halves of basketball. And if you don't get 2 full halves of basketball here, it's kind of tough to cover this type of numbers, 17.5. Now, Colorado's not without their own issues. That's for sure. Tad Boyle, one of our favorite coaches, for at least being honest, brutally honest in some instances. And he's just not thrilled with the defensive play. I'll paraphrase here real quick without reading from the quote sheet, but he basically said he's got a lot of great coaches on his staff, and they continue to try to get through to these kids the importance of defense. And he says it just falls on deaf ears. He thought, in his words, they were on the right track for the last couple of games prior to the UCF game. Thought they played good defense at West Virginia in a losing effort. Thought they played good defense against Kansas. I'm not going to argue with him. They probably did play pretty good defense in both those games, but neither one came up with a W, neither straight up or against the spread. And then against UCF, Johnny Dawkins' team just buries him for 95 points. And he was almost of the close to saying, if you read between the lines, we're back to square one with this defense. We can't get stops. They don't have any problem scoring. You've talked about freshmen this week. We've talked about freshmen this week. Isaiah Johnson has been on fire for Colorado, leading scorer for the team. Originally, I looked at total going over because Colorado really doesn't have an issue scoring points. And Iowa State, for all of our, I don't know, praise, let's call it praise about how well they can play defense, there's too many points this year where they just haven't shown it. Like I say, you want 40 minutes for basketball out of Iowa State. It's not to say that it can't be done at Hilton Coliseum in a nationally televised game like this. It could, but I'd be more willing to try Colorado plus 17.5, thinking that maybe Tad Boyle's recent rant maybe didn't fall on deaf ears for 24 hours, and maybe Colorado does come out on the road and play really hard. And then they have the scoring capability on the other end. And if I combine that with Iowa State's inability to give me 40 minutes, I think plus 17.5 looks large. Total could still be under consideration, Adam, but sidewise, I think I would lean to the road team here, Colorado.
Oh, I definitely lean that way. I was hoping to get like 20. That might have been a little ambitious. My number was like 17.8, so very close to what the spread is. So when I saw that, and obviously being as I went through a lot of these games, made a lot of my numbers at about 2 a.m. Didn't really look at all the openers. I was like, okay, I was hoping to see a little bit more value with the visitors to jump in. Two things that Colorado's, the obvious thing that they're going to get penalized for by the books is 5 straight losses. The other thing, that they get penalized for all the time by the books is playing on the road, right? It's like they're going to get the monster bump for playing at home. And then when they turn around and go on the road and they're no longer in their favorable, in the CU Event Center with the altitude in their favor, it tends to swing in the other direction. And I think personally, I was hoping it would be like more pronounced in the number. I think the odds makers kind of nailed the number here, but I guess it is relevant, right? Like Colorado 1-3 in true road games this year. They tend to not play many true road games prior to like non-conference play. So they're always going to have a bad road record because when you play in a league like the Big 12, winning on the road is hard for the really good teams in the league. And so for a team like Colorado, it's going to be very hard. That was a disappointing effort over the weekend against Central Florida. I did kind of like Colorado in that game. They kind of no-showed. I ended up losing by 9, but I never really felt like they were going to win that game. So, Rob, I think if I was going to play this one, it would have to be Colorado plus the points. Listen, if Iowa State takes all sorts of money throughout the day, which I don't think is going to happen because I think it's high enough as it is, but if this were to get up to like 20, which some group bets it, and then everyone else decides that that's the play, national TV, Hilton Coliseum, Iowa State does take money at home often. I would be willing to play back at that. I think 20 would be my jump-in point, but I do like I think the Buffs are gonna have they show some respect to themselves here and give us a game that's like within 20 because the last couple times out have not been great for this Colorado team.
No, they really haven't. And Adam, where home road is concerned, like you say, you put those two together, Colorado receiving a larger bump when they're at home and penalized when they're on the road. And Iowa State, we know, for 20 years has received the bump, 25 years at Hilton Coliseum. So it's kind of like a double bump.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a little extra value here in the price at 17.5. Like I say, if the Colorado kids respond even half decently to the coach's wishes, they can sneak under the number, I would think.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. And again, I thought it was a good I thought it was a good line by the books. I felt like they, I was hoping for something egregious, which would have been 20 or better. But yeah, I still lean Colorado in that one. All right, let's go to Garth. Garth, thank you for the donation as always. Garth wants to talk William and Mary. He says William and Mary's been up and down recently, but he feels like this is a time to back them. Well, it's an interesting spot to back William and Mary, Rob, because a couple reasons. One, the Tribe are heading on the road. They tend to shoot it worse on the road. They tend to play worse on the road in general. Two, William and Mary's had a couple of big wins lately, and we know this is the spot of the year. I brought this up on the show a couple of times. Calendar's about to flip to February. Suddenly, Brian Earl's relentless style might start to take its toll on this team. We've seen it with some of his less experienced teams in the past. And when I say less experience, I mean less experience to the way he wants to play. He coached up here at Cornell for years, and there would be Cornell teams that would look like world beaters for 3 months, Rob, and get to February and suddenly they were out of gas. So it's something I've kind of been looking at his William and Mary teams to see if something like that was going to happen. But I don't really necessarily want to back Elon here either. Kasper Klasic, former Albany Great Dane, might be hurt in this one. And he's been one of their better defenders this year. So if Elon's not going to get stops, that's the thing. If you can't stop William and Mary, they can score in bunches. And you've had some success trying to figuring out when they were going to score or not going to score this year. So talk to me about William and Mary Elon. Do you want to take a shot with the Tribe here?
Yeah, the total range, obviously odds makers now 2 months in are wise to William and Mary, right? Not that they haven't been since the get-go, but you get an opener of 168.5, and immediately it puts you into a thought process. It's not one of those where I can look at it and say, oh my God, that's off. I look at that and they stop me in my tracks from running to the window with over at 168.5. It's got drawn some money to the under here, 167.5. But I do think that situationally, it probably favors Elon, right? Elon's the team that comes in off of back-to-back losses. William and Mary's the team that comes in off of 3 straight wins. So when you put two and two together between pretty good above average conference teams, you come up with, let's play the team off the back-to-back losses. They're the more desperate side. So I think situationally it lines up good for Elon. I think what else lines up halfway decent when you start to rationalize an Elon play is the fact that those 2 losses are home to Towson. No shame there, because in that spot, right, Towson was in desperation. You may have even used that game as a part of the parlay leg that day. I'm not sure, but I know we talked about it. And Towson came through, a team that started 0-4, much better preseason prognostications. They were desperate. They win a game. And then you go play Charleston, who we've talked about at length since returning. A couple of their key offensive players have been better. And now you get a home game against William and Mary. Again, like you say, a little bit lesser on the road than they are at home. Still very, very capable of scoring points in bunches, but Elon is too. And I feel like Elon here may be able to outscore William and Mary. Again, the price tag on the total sort of makes me stop in my I don't want to have this game get to 170 to win. You know what I mean? I don't want to have 86, 84. There's just not enough wiggle room in that particular spot. But if you're asking me, do I want to try the home team +2? It's possible. It could be possible that those Elon back-to-back losses, here's what stops me. It's possible that the back-to-back Elon losses against quality competition in the CAA could be more indicative of who they are right now, And so you can run to the window with the situational play, but when you lose, you say, oh my God, I should have thought of the fact that maybe Elon isn't as good as maybe prior results suggested they were. So it's a tough game for me, Garth. I'm not going to argue you off the Bill and Mary side. Certainly early money is not arguing you off of it, because they've been bumped from 1. I see one instance where there's a 2.5 right now, but mostly 1.5s and 2s out there.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk you off the William and Mary side either. The couple of things I brought up at the beginning are just they're more anecdotal in the sense that it's like, I mean, I'm talking about Brian Earl's teams from like 5 years ago, right? Like things could have changed for him, but the point I really was trying to make is I'll be cautious with William and Mary going into February because that style has worn some of his teams out in the past. But in this matchup, like they should score points. Like,
yeah,
Elon, not only, I mean, you take one of their better defenders off, like Classic didn't play last game, but he played the previous games, and this still isn't a great Elon defense. This was a team last year that had the Simpkins brothers, who are great perimeter defensive guards. And of course, they had 7'4" Matthew Van Komen, who's now at Marshall, who was the sort of like the guy they built their entire defensive scheme around. They play a zone, and when you have a 7'4" center, you can stretch the zone well beyond the 3-point line. And that really worked for them last year. Now, we both talked about Billy Taylor having being impressive in the respect that he's been able to do it on the offensive end this year, but that defense was always going to get worse, and it has. And, you look at their last 5 games, right? Gave up 82 to Campbell, 85 to Northeastern. That's bad. Like, that is not good. That is a walking wounded Northeastern team. 89 or 85 to Hofstra. But see, here's the thing, Rob. Hofstra is the type of team that makes shot after shot, and they're a great jump shooting team. And what did Elon do? They turned around and just scored 89, right? So that's possible. And they did it on the road. So that's definitely something that could happen here. So I do think if Elon wins this game, I think you're going to see something similar to the Hofstra game where they give up, where they just drop 90 and they win a high scoring game. If they can't score, then you're going to see something like the last couple times out. Towson's a very good defensive team. They couldn't score. It's actually pretty disappointing that they gave up 72 to Towson, a team that seems to have a 6-minute offensive drought in every single game that they play. And then, of course, Charleston's been kind of hit or miss this year, and they handled them last time out down in Charleston. So it's a very interesting game. I think I'm with Garth. I think if I played this one, it'd be William and Mary. There's just more upside there right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the 2 teams you pointed out at the end there, Adam Towson and Hofstra, they're less than pedestrian style teams on the offensive end. So when you're giving up that many points to teams who don't really want to push the basketball, that means you're giving up a lot of shots that are going in. So for Elon, defense, obviously a concern here. Garth, maybe from a totals perspective too, a quick look at the William and Mary team total.
I'm confused. Do I look like I'm being held hostage here? We got some nice windows behind me. I'm in the I'm in the Erie, PA Hilton Garden Inn lobby right now is exactly where I am. So I'm good. They actually were there. They've been great to me. They said, yeah, you're good over there. We'll refill your Diet Coke. I'm right down the street from Mercyhurst. Not going there today, but I'm trying to get much further west than that today. But that is where I am. Pretty much a stone's throw from the Mercyhurst campus. So no, I'm good.
At a ski resort almost.
I'm good. It's just, yeah, I couldn't figure out how to actually, to be honest with you, I just didn't care enough to worry about the lighting back there. Bayou says drink a sip of rain. I've already done rain. I've already had a Starbucks. It's going to be a heavy caffeine day, which is no different than most other days, Rob Vito, but heavy caffeine day. Ronnie says no Starbucks. Starbucks is noisy. This is great. Like, this is like nice and quiet. Starbucks, it's noisy as hell. They've got, they probably have Harry Styles on in the background or something, just being obnoxious, right? Like, just too much music. It's crazy. Real quick promo today, as always, Rob Vino and I, all access 3 days, double the firepower. You get all of our plays. I had a good night last night. I went 2-0, hit my 5% play. And hoping to do that again. I've got one play locked in right now. I have a few. This is going to be like yesterday, Rob, where I had like 9 games. Yeah, we'll call it 7 realistically that I liked. Ended up picking the right 2. I wonder if it's kind of how I feel like today's going to go. I feel like I've got like 8 or 9. I'm going to throw the majority of them out, and I'm going to settle on like 2 or 3. But I've already got one locked in, and maybe we'll give one out on the show because again, I'm very close with a lot of these, and just looking for something to push me over the edge on quite a few of them. Also trying to confirm injury news. We'll talk about that with a couple of these in a little bit. Colin Gregory, and I see he says UNCW hammer. This is a very interesting game. I want to stay in the coastal for a minute, Rob Vino, and I want to talk UNC-Wilmington, Towson. When I was down at Towson a couple weeks ago, they all said, you got to come back for the Wilmington game. That's the game. That's the one you should be at. And of course I said, I got to take advantage when I'm here. I never know when I'm going to get back. So, but that's what everyone I talked to there was, they were all excited for that game. That's their big game. I believe it's been sold out for a couple weeks now, or very close to sold out. So that's going to be an awesome environment. No doubt about it. 5,000 seat arena down there in Towson, Maryland, and they will likely have the best crowd they'll have all year. But Rob, I alluded to this in our breakdown of William and Mary. Towson every game goes 5 minutes without scoring a basket. William and Mary has size, UNC Wilmington has size and they rebound, which are two ways that Towson scores points, and they don't score many of them. So Colin Gregory, I tend to agree with you. This looks like a really good matchup for Wilmington, minus the fact that you're getting like the home run spot for Towson coming off a bad loss and in front of probably a sellout crowd. What do you think, Rob? Towson, William and Mary. Towson, Wilmington, God.
Yeah, they're all interchangeable, right? NC-Wilmington, Field the Teal. I remember being in Richmond Coliseum years ago when I lived in Richmond, Virginia, early 2000s. When they held the Colonial Athletic Association tournament there. And the NC Wilmington fans were all there in teal tie-dye shirts, and Field the Teal was the 3 words of the day as they went through that field and wound up winning that tournament. In this game, Adam, I scratched my head at the total movement here. And I guess people just want to pick off low numbers. 129.5 in modern day college basketball for an opener is extremely low. And so maybe you just mechanically bet over in these games. I saw it happen yesterday in a couple of spots. Or maybe somebody really thinks they have a really good read on these two getting up and over the total. But the price tag it's at now, 134.5. You're asking for 68-67 against two teams they're not only slow possession, they're two of the slowest possession teams in college basketball. Remember, we had this talk earlier about adjusted tempo or time per possession. For me, it's time per possession. And these teams both rank 325 and 318 out of 365. Nobody wants to go anywhere. They want it to be. And if the Towson fan base is as fired up about the game as it was told to you, then I would expect more of a tournament type feel to this game. You know what I mean? But defensive, every possession counts, that sort of thing. Dig in, make stops, etc. It makes me want to play under in this game. NC Wilmington, however, when I went through their game logs, they've been able to score on everybody in this league regardless. The only team that got them into a really low scoring, or a couple of teams, Drexel and Hampton, but it was really early in the conference season. Since then, they've been able to score on just about everybody. Again, a lot of those teams aren't necessarily Towson, where you can combine slow possession offense with lockdown defense, and throw in the drought portion of this, which you've talked about multiple times. I just think 134.5 is too high here. I can't see this game unless it goes overtime. You're always subject to overtime in a game like this, but 69-67, 68-67 just seems a little bit high to me. I kind of feel like this one will be more in the 66-63 range, and the opener was more correct than where the market has pushed it.
Yeah, the thing I can't get over here for Towson, and why I could not make a case for Towson, Rob, is the fact that, like, they just don't move the ball, okay? And they don't really have jump shooters. Tejada and Williamson should be able to score sort of at will. It's kind of puzzling that those two just can't carry this offense a little bit more. But when you take, like, potential second chance points, which are probably not going to get many boards against Wilmington, and now Wilmington's got size inside, where you're probably not getting many clean looks at the rim. Like, this could be a game where Towson scores less than 60 points. Now, can they win again? Like, they could win a game 58, 56. They've done it before. But that's my major concern, where it's like, is Wilmington going to be totally like, now, I guess we could go back a couple weeks ago. Wilmington's had a whale of a time trying to play on the road, right? Like, they've dug themselves some big time holes recently. And I feel like they finally got caught not too long ago, but they've come back from some like 20-point deficits. The thing is, though, I don't think you made the comment that they might be bored playing some of these lesser teams in this league. I think Towson's going to get their full attention. And if Wilmington shows up and they're fully engaged and Towson gets their full attention, I think it's far more likely Wilmington would win that game. So I lean Wilmington with Colin.
Yeah, and the game you talk about where they got caught by getting off to a slow start was the William and Mary game, where they're down 30-8 with 10 minutes left in the first half. And but William and Mary has the ability to score 30 in 10 minutes, where Towson just, even if you struggle early, they're probably going to let you hang around, right? They're not going to run off any huge margin lead. So we'll see. I think the total's too high.
You could struggle early in a game like that, and it might be 14-9, like 13 minutes into the game. You're still very much in the game. Yeah, that's a really good point. Interesting one, but Colin, good luck if you play Wilmington tonight. I certainly can't really talk you off of that. This is a good one. 5% super chat from Hugh. I think he's following up on his joke from the other day, but he has a question. I've got a very quick answer to this. So Hugh says, single game boost token, bet normal unit and take boost profit, or lower the bet and boost to get a 1 unit win. Bet the full unit. Anytime you get a boost, you should bet as much as they'll allow you to boost it. So whatever they'll allow, the max bet the boost will allow is always the play there. Am I right, Rob? That's always the play, right?
Yeah, and generally the max is so low that you have to include the boost, really, to make the boost worthwhile of taking. So yeah, I would agree with you. I would make the max bet and attack the boost onto that.
All right, since Hugh, if you want a game, shoot one in there, and I'll try to get to your game. But I'm going to go to Swizz here, because he says give me LeMoyne plus the points, and I got a couple things to say about this one. So the points look appealing, being the number that they're at. The problem is Shiloh Jackson's very likely out for LeMoyne. Rob, I texted you so I played LeMoyne the other day, gave it out on the show. It was a winner. They had arguably their best shooting day of the season. Even with Jackson out, they went nuts from three on Fairleigh Dickinson. They went up huge. It was really never a contest, but that was a surprise to me. There was nothing. I didn't really hear anything about Jackson not playing until I had already bet the game. And again, Fairleigh Dickinson's one of the lesser teams in this league. So the fact that they were able to win big and not really miss him against Fairleigh Dickinson does not really surprise me. I didn't have there was never a point in time where I thought to hedge out of my bet. It was just, all right, we'll roll with this. They'll still probably win, and they did. Rob, the only team to beat Long Island in league play so far this year is LeMoyne. And Shiloh Jackson in that game had 21 points and 7 rebounds. He's the one upperclassman on this LeMoyne team, and now they're going to go on the road without him in the rematch. That spells trouble for LeMoyne. Even with those points, I don't think it's enough. I think this could get ugly at the I've been to this place. I think it's in Brooklyn. I think it's LIU Brooklyn. The Steenberg Wellness Center. There you go, Rob. That's where the game is tonight. The Shark Tank, the LIU Sharks. There's a couple New York Knicks are going to be in attendance. It's like they have a partnership with, I think, the Knicks, so they should get a decent crowd for this game. And I think this one might be a Long Island win going away. With Jackson out, do you have any insight on the total here? Because that could really alter what LeMoyne is capable of doing here.
Yeah, I would. The team total is where I looked, but I think it's too high priced for LIU. 77.5 is a lot to ask, even if Jackson doesn't play. So it would probably take me off of the total either way here. Of course, the other option to that, Adam, is to try and play the LeMoyne team total under. in this instance, missing all the offense and all the points that they're going to have. Their team total really quick, just to bring it up, is 69.5, 70.5. Maybe a little steep there too. No real opinion either way. The number has really soared. Like you were saying, it opened 3.5. It's 8.5. 5-point move.
Oh yeah,
ought to
three
tell you the
that
importance.
3.5. That had to be the most rogue number ever, because like I even saw sixes gone really, really quick. Like I think this was somewhat known. Like if a book hung a 3.5 or a 6, like that had to be gone right away. Because I don't think it was like totally unknown that Jackson would be out in this game. But yeah, even 8.5 still probably low. Without Shiloh for LeMoyne, I make it 10.5. I don't know about you, but there's still probably some value there.
If I go over timestamp really quick on this line movement, Adam, that actually opened 3, lasted 5 minutes,
Wow.
got bet to
Yeah.
4, lasted 16 minutes, got bet to 5, that lasted a while. You had about 6 hours still at 5 until
right, but at
like
insanely low limits, probably.
Right.
For right. Because that's an extra board opener. So what was any place even given on that until it was like already where it's at now? But yeah. No, Rob, I think you make a good point. If you were gonna try to like find a little bit of value in this one, it's probably the LeMoyne team total under, because that way I feel like they don't fully price the injury stuff into the total as much. You've kind of taught me that. And then you talk about like people love to bet overs, right? In LeMoyne, they still see, no Jackson, and LeMoyne still put up 87 points. But Long Island, we've talked about this. They're far and away the best team in this league. They're the best defensive team. This is a different animal than what they played earlier in the week. So, yeah, you could get a scenario where LIU holds them under 60 even.
Yeah, with revenge, it's a revenge spot on the other side's home floor. It just makes it that much more appealing to think that LeMoyne would have difficulty scoring here.
All right, let's continue on. Still plenty of games. I'm going to, this is the challenge with some of these games. I'm going to throw one out there that, again, is very contingent on some injury stuff, but is one that's very intriguing to me. So on Monday, Rob, we talked about Tarleton State, and they never played, right? Because the winter storm was still down in Texas. They had ice and a little bit of ice on Texas roads. That's pretty much an instant cancellation right there. And that's what Tarleton, I believe, dealt with on 2 occasions. I think they tried to get that game in twice, and it got canceled both times. So very interesting, because they've been off for a while. Billy Gillespie has not coached in a while. He's been out with some health issues. So there's been an assistant coach. I believe it's Glenn Cyprian that's been the coach. Things have not gone well in Billy Clyde's absence. I believe Tarleton's now lost 4 in a row. The crazy thing here is you've got the nation's leading scorer, and he comes off the bench. But not only has he been coming off the bench, Rob, he hasn't been playing his full allotment of minutes. So I guess those are the questions here, because I would love Tarleton in the spot at home as an underdog against a Utah Valley team that they played pretty good against not too long ago on this floor. Because remember, everyone in this league is playing 3 times this year. And even having some pals down in Stephenville, Rob, I can't find any info out on this game either. So I lean toward Tarleton. It's something I'm going to be monitoring today. But boy, if they were, Dior kind of is the one that's going to have to keep them in that game, because Utah Valley can score at the rim, and Tarleton's rim defense has not been good. So can you help me make heads or tails? Utah Valley, Tarleton. Are you seeing anything in this one?
Well, what I see is back-to-back losses by Utah Valley on the road as well. So, the desperation sort of factor, or the must-win type factor, to me, would point to the healthier team, the team that's already won on this floor by 6 and is now down to 3.5. This game has come down off of the opener. You can find 3.5s out there, a team with a huge scoring capability. I find it hard to play against Utah Valley. But that being said, Adam, they've got 3 losses in league, and all 3 are on the road. Got beat by Abilene by 17 on the road. And the last two that I just talked about were Southern Utah, who I think we talked about the other day. It's not an exceptionally good basketball team. They're subpar, to put it mildly, and they lose at Southern Utah. And then Cal Baptist, which is a decent team, gets the best of them in OT. So I don't know. I would think that Utah Valley would be the way I would look. However, I don't like the road results enough to say that I could get to the window with them against a team who has home floor revenge. And we really don't know the status of Dior. So I don't know. It's a tough game to play. Total wise, let me just speak on that for half a second here. This number has been bet up from 156 to 157.5. A lot of points. And again, you can't really play that until you know the injury news is confirmed. At that point, maybe you lose some line value, both side and total, if it's either confirmed or one way or the other, in or out. So for me, it's probably kind of a no play. I think my slightest lean would have been toward Utah Valley here, but nothing I would go to the window with.
Yeah, listen, I'll give you a little in-game angle here that you can use in this one because Tarleton likes to start with Dior Johnson on the bench, they have been more of a second half team most of the year. The other key guy here is Freddie Hicks. He's been out, and that to me is almost like, obviously you need Dior scoring, but what Freddie Hicks does is keeps everyone organized, slows the game down. He gets to the foul line more than any other player in the country over his career. He is, I believe, shot more free throws per minutes on the floor than any other active player in college basketball right now. It's kind of a crazy stat, just one that I think goes a little bit unnoticed, but that dude absolutely lives at the free throw line. And that is huge. That's huge for Tarleton because they don't have much of a post presence on this team. So that's where I think they've really, really been struggling, is even though Hicks is not like a post player per se, he gets to the line and he can score inside. He just kind of wills his way to the basket, and they've really missed that. So because they've had so much time now elapsed between their last game, maybe the market here is front running him coming back and Dior being fine, because that's the final thing I'll say about this game. If Freddie Hicks is in the starting lineup and he's there, and Dior Johnson is in uniform and he comes off the bench and he's in the game like he usually is, I think you look for a spot to either bet Tarleton in game or take their second half line, especially if they fall behind a little bit early, because that is the combination that will keep them in the game against Utah Valley. Now, on the flip side, Rob, no Freddie Hicks. Dior's not totally on in the first half. The other thing you're going to want to look for is Utah Valley getting to the rim, because Utah Valley, if you just let them score at the rim, they'll score on every possession. You might want to go the other way. It's a phenomenal game for in-game betting, and those are the things you should look for that. So that is that's one that, again, if you have the ability to live bet and you watch for those things, I think you will find yourself a winner in play based on who's playing or not playing for Tarleton in that game. Rob Vino, we have Hugh. So Hugh has followed up, and he said there's 2 Big Ten games today. So I'm going to let you take your pick, Rob. Pick one of the Big Ten games and kick us off. Let's offhand, I think one of them's Illinois. Oh, we have your choices are Penn State Northwestern or Washington, Illinois. So pick the one you like best, and let's talk some Big Ten hoops.
Well, we can talk about the Washington, Illinois game, I guess, Adam, because I think there's more to talk about where that game is concerned. Earlier this week, maybe Saturday, man, the days go by so fast that I can't remember when I had mentioned that Illinois head coach Brad Underwood said that losing Boswell at point guard made them a better offense, a lesser defense, but a better offense. And man, you've seen that 2 games in a row out of Illinois, right? A huge point production. It's allowed them to get other guys going in this spot. Washington on the road. Again, it's not a full 3-hour cross-country trip, but it is middle of the country trip. We've talked about these west to east things inside the Big Ten. Washington has a tendency to give up a bunch of points. But Washington is at times capable. I've read a funny, comment the other day about Washington, Adam. This struck me a little bit, where somebody was saying that, what is Danny Sprinkle doing here for what he did and for what Mike Hopkins did? They should have just kept Lorenzo Romar. He was doing the same thing. And maybe there's some truth to that. But Washington is off a big win, 72-57 against Oregon. We saw again last night, Oregon is just a shell of themselves. There's so many injuries on that team. Beating them by 15, it should be a given on any night. UCLA did the job last night. But real quick, just the Illinois situation, I'll just speak generally from a Illinois offensive perspective right now. That game against Purdue, in Purdue the other day, and I happen to have Illinois team total in that one. Or no, I had full game total, excuse me. It got to 170, but Illinois was behind at maybe 4-5 with about 4 minutes left. And again, Keaton Wagler, another freshman that we didn't mention in this great freshman class, went absolutely berserk in that game. They couldn't stop him. They tried everything. He either got to the rim and got fouled, or he made 3-pointers. He became the main guy. Stojakovic was the guy the game before. You can just see how open the spacing is on this team now, and how much attention opponents have to pay to Wagler that they really didn't. Boswell's a nice player. Obviously, he has been there for a while and has been really good. But there's a difference about this Illinois offense right now. So I would think, if I was going to lean here, I would probably lean toward that game going over, because Illinois honestly doesn't mind. And Purdue, Braden Smith played a good offensive game there too, and Washington does not Purdue's offense. But Illinois doesn't seem to mind allowing opponents to score. I think the mindset is of these kids on the floor that they know they can outscore you at this point in time. So Illinois is also pushing for conference lead. I think they're 8-1 inside the Big Ten right now. And so they're making a move. It's a team we talked about early, Adam. It's a team with, Elite Eight capability. When I look at them nowadays, I only look at them as an over type team where full game is concerned. So the fact that Washington gives it up, Illinois doesn't mind giving it up. Illinois can score. Maybe a full game total there, or an Illinois team total there, one or the other.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed when I pulled this game up earlier today was our guy Marco D'Angelo. If they were doing like bet on it for college hoop, would be all over the spot here, because this is the deli sandwich game for Marco that he loves to bring up. That's, hey, listen, it's very relevant, but they just beat Purdue on the road. Like, that is a massive win for Illinois. And what do they have this coming weekend, Rob? They go to Lincoln, Nebraska, to the bank, right? To play a Nebraska team that up until 2 days ago was undefeated. So yeah, it's a home game, but man, this you could be looking ahead to Nebraska a little bit, even with the loss to Michigan. I mean, that's still, you have the chance in a week to beat 2 top 5 teams, right? Purdue was number 4 in the country when they won that game. You still got Nebraska, who's number 5 in the country, and will be on Sunday when that game is played. I just don't think Washington's any good. You made the point about Hopkins and Danny Sprinkle underachieving. Yeah, at least Lorenzo Romar used to get players, right? Like, at least Lorenzo Romar could recruit. And even though like his teams might underachieve, like you just knew he was going to get a couple studs that would keep you in games, and you'd have a fighting chance. This Washington team is just no good. Like, that's all I can't, I wish I had more to add there. I just don't think they're a very good basketball team. So even in the spot that Illinois is in, yeah, it's a big number, but I want no part of Washington. They're so much worse than Illinois that even if Illinois is somewhat focused on the weekend, they still might win this game by 15. It almost feel, I know it's like not a great comparison, but you know how Florida just felt so easy last night, and you're like, man, that looks like we're going to lay 14, but it's such a mismatch, and they just crushed like I wouldn't be that surprised if Illinois ran Washington off the floor. They're just such a better team. But again, I haven't had a great beat on these teams, and I don't think you can fully discount the fact that they just beat Purdue and they've got Nebraska coming up this weekend. So that'll likely keep me off of this one. All right, the chat is, you guys are relentless. I'm gonna give it out. I was gonna sell this, but you know, Rob, as it goes, day like this, I'm probably gonna have more than one best bet, a couple different plays for sale. So I will lock in my leg of the parlay because there's like 6 people that have asked about the Cal-Irvine Hawaii game. Your boy was going to hold on to that one that was about to go up for sale on the website, but I can't hold out on you guys here in my jail cell, or someone said the law office. That's actually good. This like the law library or something like someone said in there. But I played UC Irvine here, Rob. It's a 4% play for me. I just played it on the money line -125. Hawaii, for me, it's almost this simple. Hawaii last week at home, 2 blowout wins. One I guess was pretty expected against Bakersfield. The other not quite as expected. That was actually my only loss last Saturday. I had Northridge plus 10, 9.5, 10. And they got blown out in a game that I didn't think they should really get blown out in. I felt like they just couldn't hit shots. It felt like they played Hawaii somewhat even, and they just could not get out of their own way on the offensive end. Feel like they missed some layups, would just trip over themselves, and suddenly they were down 20 in a game that to me, watching the game, was more competitive than the final score would indicate. Now you turn around, you're Hawaii, you got to leave the island, something they've barely done this year. Go play what will be your toughest road game of the season to date. I suppose Oregon opening night, but that's a little bit different. This will be, in my opinion, a tougher road game because it's a conference game, and Irvine's going to want this one bad. Of course, if you missed the Hawaii-Irvine game the first time around, you would have had to been up till 2 Eastern to catch the end of that. But Hawaii hit the buzzer beater to win by 1. So I just love the revenge angle. I think Irvine is the better team. I think they're going to be able to force Hawaii into some tough shots here. And, I just don't know if that plays for the Bows on the road. In addition to Hawaii on the road, obviously they get this big advantage at home, Rob. Very Colorado Buffaloes-esque, right? You turn around and now you don't have the advantage of teams having to take the flight all the way to the islands to play you. Now you're at a little bit more of a disadvantage on the road. So I took Irvine on the money line. That's going to be our parlay leg. What do you think? Do you have anything in this one? Hawaii, UC Irvine?
I think both sides of this team total makes somewhat sense, but the one that makes the most sense to me, Adam, is Hawaii to stay under their number of 69.5. Teams haven't even shot 40% from inside the arc against Irvine. You mentioned the 2 wins that Hawaii had over the weekend, but obviously neither in the defensive class that Irvine is in. This team, they're both ranked 1 and 2 analytically inside their own conference in defensive efficiency. But when you go through further numbers, Irvine's a difficult team to score on. And Hawaii, and first off, I was surprised that the game total went up as high as it did. Again, another push that I'm kind of head scratching at. 140.5 is your full game total now. But for everything that you said, and if I tack on the fact that UC Irvine is the toughest defensive opponent that Hawaii's had in league so far this year, 69.5 seems like a reach. Irvine just doesn't allow teams to get to that number. 59 to UC San Diego last game, 66 to Riverside. Only 67 the first time in loss to Hawaii. Now you're asked to get 3 more on the road against a team with revenge. So to me in that game, the angle I would look at the most, aside from, I think the side play is absolutely a good spot here with Irvine. But I think that if you're looking from a totals perspective, Hawaii team total under makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and the one final thing I'll say is that first meeting, Irvine shot a very poor percentage on what were mostly good looks. They had a lot of like what would be considered quality shots in that first game, and they shot a very low percentage on quality shots in that meeting. And Rob, yet they still basically had the game won, right? Like it still took a shot, literally not just like, I mean, that shot was straight up at the buzzer. The last shot of the game had to go in for Hawaii to win that game. And that was with Irvine missing close look after close look on the road in Honolulu. Now you turn around, you get them at home, and we're only asking them to win. I think that that's kind of a bargain. And I did see this move a little bit, which is fine. We'll just put whatever the money line is. Rob, do you have your screen up there? Because I'm short a screen today. So do you have a current money line for UC Irvine?
I absolutely do. I can tell you right now, Irvine is minus $1.30.
Yeah, that'll be our parlay leg, and I gave it to clients at minus 125. So 4% play, either is fine. We're going to have one more game to talk about, but Rob, do you know what you want to lock in for the parlay leg, or do you want to save that till the end and go to the other game first?
Now, I'll just go quick with you, Adam. This is a simple bounce back team total. You had just mentioned the game, but Cal-Northridge, who has been a favorite of mine all season long from an offensive perspective, gets held to 68 the other night, doesn't make a lot of shots. This is a team that very rarely gets held below 80 points. Tonight, they're back at home against UC Davis, a team that I think Cal-Northridge can impose their up-tempo will on. And the number is kind of low in my estimation, 82.5. I think that they're probably ticketed for 85 or more. Again, it's more of a situation. Well, I guess you combine the fundamentals here, because I truly believe, and the ticket cashing that I've done with this team so far this year in these instances kind of proves it, that Cal State-Northridge is, for me, just a one-way ticket. They're going to play fast. They're going to make shots. They're going to score. They and Cal Poly are like two of the same inside this league. I think Northridge might even be a little bit better of a team overall. But for me, Adam, in this spot, I don't think Davis, which would prefer, I know they would prefer to try and slow the game down a little bit, but I just don't think it happens on Northridge's floor. And I think that the shot making comes back a little bit here. Obviously, they're a far better scoring team than what they showed the other night. In Hawaii, we just mentioned it. They're like number one in defensive efficiency in that league. So it's a huge step down in class here for them. So give me the Cal State-Northridge team total after last night. Yesterday, I kind of butchered it on the folks, right? I went Miami of Florida first half. Kind of, right. A little different. And I see a 22-12 lead in the first half, and I'm thinking, man, we're on our way. All of a sudden, it's 40-35 Stanford. But bottom line is Miami covers the full game. So I probably got out of my element a little too much. We'll stick to my element here. Cal State-Northridge team total over 82.5.
Yeah, I mean, the batter's eye is back, right? This game's at Northridge. So we got that nice big black backdrop, which they tend to shoot extremely well against. I seriously think someone, if there's anyone close to the Northridge program that watches the show, let us know. I feel like they did that for a reason, right? Like I feel like they made that gym super shooter friendly. That's just what I think. Like otherwise, why would you go out of your way to put this like massive black wall behind the hoops? Right. I don't know. That's my conspiracy theory for the day, Rob. But like they've shot it better at home. And if you go back to the first meeting, like you brought up, 89-80, still got to 80 in the first meeting on the road. So I think that's a good look. I definitely thought about Northridge maybe bouncing back. Like I said, I felt like they were seeing ghosts for some of that game against Hawaii because they were getting good looks and they just couldn't make them. They just sort of like tripped over themselves a couple of times, and it was just not their best work. So I don't mind a bounce back for Northridge there. Rob, let's go to one more chat question to close it out. Oh, he says, this is Mad Max. He said FAU beats Memphis. Yeah, I listen, stubborn Trig wants to come back with FAU because, of course, that was a 5%er for me on Sunday. I got a good number. But the problem, Rob, is I felt like they really got thoroughly outplayed in most of that game. Now you're talking Memphis, who's been down, but man, does it feel like Memphis is the type of team that like you don't really want to go against once people are really counting them out, which could kind of be this spot here? So that's what kind of forced me to pass on this one. But talk to me and Mad Max, FAU Memphis. He looks toward the FAU money line. He says no reason for Memphis to be favored. And Memphis hasn't been good as a favorite, I suppose. So how are you seeing this one? Florida Atlantic, Memphis.
I can't say I disagree. It's about this far. It's not there yet. It's about this far from making my card. Florida Atlantic in the bounce back role. Couple of things that are preventing me is Memphis has shown a real capability on the defensive end. And in this league, Adam, against these type teams, I guess that's where I have to kind of weigh the difference. FAU is such a superior type offensive team to what's actually in this conference, the majority of this conference, that you can build nice statistical numbers against weaklings that can't really score. But to me, FAU has that ability. Can Memphis match them score for score is my kind of thought here. And I don't know that they can, in all honesty. And the point about favorite underdog is really relevant with Memphis. You love Memphis in the underdog role. We may have said this before, but as a favorite, seem to fall on their face a little bit. This is a game where both teams, I think, are off losses, if I remember right. And so you could probably build the same case against me and say, but Rob, this is Memphis home revenge for a Florida Atlantic game. Plus, they're off a loss. Florida Atlantic is off the loss to South Florida, but South Florida is such a different team, Adam. When that snowball gets going offensively, it becomes an avalanche, and it's just difficult to stay with. Memphis, not a great shooting team, and they'll allow you to stay around in games. So to me, like I say, I really want to get to FAU here, but obviously we've talked about some things. You know, you always have to build that list, assets and liabilities, and there are some liabilities to consider in this one with the FAU side. If I can overcome those, I'll probably be on FAU with you, but that's the side I like here.
Bayou's convinced that the Boca Raton's got like Maui Invitational, like caliber soft rims. Right. So he does not like Florida Atlantic when they go on the road. And I mean, there might be something to that. I don't know. I mean, there's always, you know, we just talked about Northridge, right? Like creating a little bit of a home court edge. Maybe they've done something like that as well. You know, they played Memphis great the first time around, but that I guess is where I'll finish my point here is, you know, they dropped 89 on Memphis in Boca Raton in an 89-78 win where, and I'm just going to pull the shooting splits up here, you know, they shot 51% from the field. So the other good news for FAU in that game, they destroyed Memphis on the glass. And I think if you've watched Memphis recently, like it's fair to say that this is not the caliber of team Penny has had in recent years there. I mean, you know, the loss they got destroyed the last two games, Tulsa and Wichita State. Now, Tulsa's a very good team. I still think FAU is probably better than Wichita State, but at the same time, Penny has been good in the rally the troops spot, right? So it's like back-to-back losses. Now you're at home. Can you rally the troops a little bit? Maybe. It's a tough one. I'm with you, though. It'd have to be FAU or pass. Rob Bino, before we close this out at the gun, I see folks in the chat talking about New Jersey Institute of Technology in Albany. All I'll say is, like, I think they like N.J.I.T. and see if Jeremy Clayville comes back tonight. That would be a nice boost for N.J.I.T. He hasn't played since January 3rd, and I thought I heard a rumor that he might be back tonight, which would be maybe. I mean, Albany sucks. Like that. Don't get me wrong. Like that's just, and I'll come on here and say that proudly. That's our in-city rival for Siena. So can't stand Albany. Wish nothing but the worst for that team. And hopefully they lose tonight to N.J.I.T. because I think some of the boys in the chat will cash. And if Clayville's back for N.J.I.T., that's certainly appealing. Jeremy Clayville from last year's St. Francis Red Flash team that went to the NCAA tournament. But yeah, he's been out for a couple of games. Would be nice if they got him back, and I think he would certainly be worth a point or two. All right, Rob Bino, we have reached the end of the show. I think Bayou loves the parlay tonight. That's what I love to hear. We're going two-teamer. We've got Cal-Irvine -130 on the money line. It's also a 4% play for me. And then Bino's going Cal State-Northridge team total over 82.5. Little two-teamer. The math on that's probably like plus 250. I'll have it done if officially if it wins, of course. Minus 5.18 units on the parlay this year, but we're battling. I feel like we're a couple away. Yesterday we had Tennessee, Miami let us down. The day before, Miami of Ohio cost us by a half point. Vino, you got to stay away from teams named Miami, and we're going to be all set.
Yeah, that's a good lesson.
Double the firepower. All of my plays, all of Vino's plays for any 3-day span. I'm going to try to make it to a game tonight. We'll see how far I get. So check Twitter. You'll see where I am in about 8 hours from now. But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. More Full Court Press, 10 a.m. Eastern. I believe we're on again with Kelly on Saturday. Good luck today, everyone. We'll see you soon.